Hello. First of all, I would like to begin by saying thank you all for being here today. As you already know, the theme of this TEDx event is unheard voices. So what I wanted to do today was be the voice that people hear for someone whose voice is very rarely heard. My name is Carys. From the outside, I look just as typical as anyone else. But am I? Would you notice? This is me, this is my story, and this is who I really am. I'm 13, and I can't wait until I'm 14, because that's how old you have to be to drive a golf buggy. I love cars, buses, trains, any kind of transport really, but my favorite right now is jet skis. I love sport. Swimming and running are my favorites, and I always do them to the best of my ability. You see, I know that everything has a beginning and an end, and I will always reach the end, no matter how long that takes. I live in Dubai with my family, and I love it here, but I used to live in the UK, and people were a lot kinder to me there. When I'm older, I want to own my own desert safari company to take people on the adventures that I love so much myself. I love to laugh. I love to play jokes. I love to have fun. And I don't like maths. It's really boring. Did you know that when I go into a supermarket, I see all the colours all at once? I hear the tills beeping, trolleys moving, the people talking, the announcer, the lights buzzing. But what is really hard for me is that I hear this all at the same time. I don't like supermarkets. And just like any other 13-year-old boy, I have a lot of questions. Why do people say I'm different? I don't look any different. And why do I have to go to the doctor so much? Nobody goes as much as I do, and I even go when I don't feel sick. When I go to a mall, or a supermarket, or a classroom, or anywhere with lots of people, in fact, why does everything seem so loud? My family don't think it's as loud as I do. Why are the lights buzzing? Why is everything so noisy? Why are people touching me? Why is everything so heightened? A boy in my class is having a party. Everyone is invited. I'm not, though. Why? I want to have fun just as much as the next person. Why do parents tell their children not to play with me because I'm strange? I just want a friend, and if you let me, I could be just as good as anybody else. Why did my mum get told by 19 schools that I couldn't go there just because I'm me? And why, when I was finally allowed to go to school, why was I allowed to be bullied? I just wanted to learn and make friends. Why? So why do all these judgments and assumptions get made? Now I, Carys, the sister of Huxley, am going to tell you why. Harry has two conditions, one of which is called dyspraxia, and the other is called autism. These conditions do not define him and do not make him who he is. He is an individual in his own right, just like you or I. Sure, he may do things a little differently or have different interests, but then again, don't we all? Autism is not a one-size-fits-all diagnosis. It's as unique as the individual themselves, hence the term spectrum. Sure, many individuals have their own little mannerisms or quirks, but why should that mean that society pushes them to the sidelines simply because they're different? In the UAE, Harry is known as a determined one, but you would never be able to see this just from looking at him. To most, his behaviour is just a little strange. Now, there's a common saying which I'm sure you've all heard before, which is don't judge a book by its cover. Yet, this is exactly what people do to Harry and so many others like him on a daily basis. People judge my brother not only for his outwards behaviour, some of which he has no control over, but also many people who learn of his diagnoses judge him for a label. They don't even try to get to know the real Harry. Now, this is something I find perplexing, Because surely, if you can offer the courtesy to a book to understand or to consider it for its merits prior to preconceived notions or biases, then you can afford the same courtesy to other human beings. And maybe you do, but this is not something that my family or I have been able to grow accustomed to. It is said that human beings are social animals, that we understand emotion and that these feelings are often the driving forces behind our actions. But from what I have witnessed, this does not appear to be true, because if it were, we wouldn't live in a society where people are more open-minded about literature, film, and art than they are about their fellow citizens with additional needs. As social animals, humans have an innate and burning desire to belong and be accepted. An inanimate object, like a book, has no such thing, yet it's often treated better than a person with a disability. Whilst some would believe that those with additional needs either do not care or simply do not notice when they are ignored, overlooked, or ridiculed, they are in fact all too aware of your prejudice. Hopefully you were able to empathize with this through hearing some of the questions my brother has presented my family with over the years. As the saying goes, the cover of a book does not determine its content. And likewise, a person's disability does not determine who they are. It is up to you whether you give that individual the chance to truly present themselves. More often than not, though, judgment prevents this from happening. Those with visible disabilities are often considered in line with their outward appearance. The only benefit of this is that when people can see that there is something setting an individual apart from the general crowd, understanding is normally awarded, or, at the very least, attempted. The same cannot be said for invisible disability. When it comes to disabilities that people cannot see, people seem to find them far too complex to even begin to understand. They appear to hold the belief of, well, I can't see it, so even really there? It is in instances like these that people ogle in the supermarkets, expressing their distaste to the parent of the child having a meltdown, because of course, that child's behavior must be a result of bad parental discipline. Or perhaps a complete stranger is simply as ignorant to come up to a stranger and tell them how abnormal their child's behavior is, or worse, ask the dreaded question, what's wrong with them? Nothing, by the way. Thank goodness that parents and families of those with additional needs act as hidden superheroes. They build thicker skins and refuse to let ignorance tear them down, because they remain hopeful that one day society will be more aware and more inclusive, so that they too can witness these amazing individuals for who they are and not what they have. Perhaps now you have heard that Harry and others like him hear what people say and wonder why it is they are treated so unfairly. You will think twice that before the next time you judge someone or choose to ignore them simply because they're different. In a time when the fight for equality of gender, race, and sexuality is stronger than ever before, the fight for inclusion and rights of those with disabilities is sadly not as powerful. It is time for that to change. This generation has already proven itself as critical change makers. Together, we can create a worldwide society of aware, understanding, and compassionate individuals. A society in which no person is left behind. As children, we were constantly reminded in school, or at least I was, that the world would be a very boring place if all of its inhabitants were the same. The message teachers were trying to convey was simple. Celebrate diversity. Embrace it. Let us be the generation that truly encompasses everyone, because for too long, those with disabilities have been forgotten. I can, without a doubt, say that Harry has been a great deal of who I am today. He has taught me so much about courage and determination. His outlook on life is inspirational. I wouldn't change him for the world, despite the challenges that come with having a sibling with additional needs. When I was younger, I was often presented with the question, would you rather that your brother be normal? This was a confusing question for a child who simply saw her brother as he was. Harry was Harry. He was his normal self, and thus there was nothing to change. And with that in mind, I have, and always will, reply with no. Everyone in here has someone they love, whether it be a parent, a friend, a cousin. Think about them for a moment. Think about what it is that makes you love them. I can bet that you love them because of their personality, not their name or where they're from or even their academic ability. Nothing so silly as something that can be labeled. I love Harry for all the same reasons. His personality, his ability to bring laughter into a room. He is amazing just the way he is. There is nothing to change. Our family's view of Harry does not change because of his diagnoses, but unfortunately, society's perception does. The trick here, though, is that society's perceptions can change, and it is imperative that they must. Over the years, I have found that many people don't view those with disabilities as I have just described Harry. They see a book cover, the naughty child, they see a label. They never quite delve deep enough to see the individual for their own unique personality, and consequently, the cycle of blindness and stigma regarding disability continues. But there is one very easy way to break the cycle. Give people a chance. Don't judge when you aren't privy to the complete situation. Look past the diagnosis. See them for them. And at the same time, remember that occasionally they may do things a little differently from you or I. And in those instances, remember that that is okay too. Remember that diversity, when accepted, has an immensely positive global impact. My idea today is nothing groundbreaking or rooted in facts and statistics, and most of you are probably already aware of the issue before I even walked out onto the stage. My goal today was not to enlighten by any means, but rather to encourage change by providing a new perspective for you all to consider. Most people on Earth share a similar desire, a wish to leave this place just a little bit better than it was when they entered. The positive difference your acceptance could make in someone's life is indescribable. And there is no doubt that in doing so, you would personally be contributing to improving this planet. You would never want to be isolated on the grounds of something that you had no control over. And neither do the millions of people around the world who are ostracized for no other reason than being misunderstood. You have the power to transform lives. All you need is a little bit of patience, compassion, and an open mind.